It's an honor to be with you. Let me just say, it's great. Look at that logo. I've seen that sucker a long time.
Yeah. You look well.
I feel good.
Do you?
I feel good. No pressure.
Yeah.
It's nice to lead a life of no pressure whatsoever. Yeah. Corruption surrounded by corrupt judges and corrupt politicians. Other than that, there's no pressure. You know, it was interesting when you called the other day about doing an interview. A lot of people want to do interviews, and I don't just agree to them very easily. But I've always had great respect for you. I watch your show. Some of the real good ones and some of the less intellectual ones, and that's okay too. But it's always been, you've always been very special. And I knew that you were, in some form, very much involved with trials. And I found it to be very interesting that you would take this up. It's a never-ending thing. There's a term that I know you've heard many times. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. And nobody's ever seen anything like it. In one way, we drive them totally crazy because we're doing the right thing. You wonder, why would somebody want to have open borders where people are coming in from jails, prisons, where they're coming in from mental institutions, and as you know better than anyone else, they're coming in, they're releasing the people all over the world, not just South America, from mental institutions and jails and prisons, and they're terrorists coming in by the thousands. They're pouring into our country. And who would allow this? You know, it's common sense, not a conservative thing. If they would devote that same skill and talent to making America great again, it would really be a wonderful thing. But in the meantime, we're beating them. You know, you mentioned I got impeached twice, and I won twice very easily, very quickly. We had great support from the Republican Party. I have all these cases. All my life, I didn't have any problem. And all of a sudden, within a matter of months, I end up with 4 cases. Now, of course, it's from the White House and the Department of Justice. They totally control the state case. In fact, I'm not allowed to even be talking about certain aspects of it because I have a gag order. Think of it. I'm the Republican nominee. I was the president, and I'm leading the current Democrat by a lot. And I have a gag order from a local judge that was appointed by the Democrat Party. A local judge. He's a local person, and he is appointed. And he put a gag order on me.
Well,
nobody's ever seen anything like it.
While you're campaigning.
While I'm campaigning, like you just mentioned a question that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Right.
Can you imagine? I'm the Republican nominee, and I'm not allowed to talk because a local judge from New York, appointed by Democrats, said I can't talk about it. It's so unfair. And then he gives a jury charge. Nobody's ever heard of a charge like this. He gave instructions to the jury. And by the way, the jury happened to be in a location that was almost no Republicans. You understand that? That was a very good statement in the Wall Street Journal. I read that this morning. And it's so true. I mean, it's so accurate. They've weaponized to a level. They are trying to affect the election by demeaning, hurting in any form. And by the way, I think after the election, the hatred's great enough that they'll go, but with much less enthusiasm. This is about November 5th, which I think is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. If we don't turn this around, we're not going to have a country left anymore. They wouldn't listen to him. They wouldn't talk to him. They didn't want to hear his testimony. They knew what he was going to say. He was going to say it was 100%. And very importantly, when they tell somebody, you're going to jail for 15 years unless you say bad things about this guy named Trump, okay? Now, in all fairness, we know a lot of great people, but you don't know too many that would say, I'm not going to do what they want.
Yeah.
He goes up to somebody and they say, Dr. Phil, you're going to jail for 15 years unless you say bad things about Trump. And if you say the bad things, you're not going to jail at all. In fact, we're going to make you a hero. Or you're going to go for 3 months, or you're going to go for a short period of time. How many people are there that say, you know, I'm not going to do that? There have been people.
Yeah, that's right.
And those are, in my opinion, these are great people. What they've done to people that work for me is incredible. Yeah. Incredible. The threats, the taking of a gentleman who's been with me for years and telling me he's going to jail for 15 years unless they say, and he went back to jail a second time. I guess they didn't want him to testify. I don't know what happened exactly, but the threats that they made to this man, they've destroyed his life. These are fascists. You know, these are really bad people, Phil. But who's going to do it? You're going to jail for 15 years, or you're going to go for 30 days or 40 days, or you're going to go for no time, but you have to say bad things about Trump.
Yeah, and that's intimidation. And some of these people, you look at their age, you look at their health, and for some of it could be a death sentence. And so they make a deal, and that's what I talk about. That's what I mean when I say prosecutorial abuse. Did anyone ever approach you and try to get you to make a deal, drop out of the race, make a deal here, we'll leave you alone?
No, they didn't. But I believe they would if I would have offered that up. I think they know me well enough. I think I really do. But if I didn't run, as an example, I would have never had any of these lawsuits. How about I get prosecuted on a person that I have no idea who she is? I have no idea who she is. I have to pay $91 million. And that judge was just as bad, just as corrupt, a corrupt judge. I have to pay $91 million to a woman. I have no idea who she is. She wrote a book and she made a statement in the book. And you know that case. That case is a disaster. And then but I have no idea who she is. And they said I did things. These people are corrupt and in some cases incompetent, but it's such an honor to have somebody like you see it and see it so clearly. And I knew that, I remember that years ago you were helping Oprah out, and she was sued and it was having a big impact on her.
Mad cow.
And I thought it was great. And Oprah used to really like me. She was here many times. Yeah. She loved my key lime pie. We have key lime pie, and she loved a lot of things about Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. And Roger King, as you know.
Yeah, we were here for the funeral for Roger King.
Correct, long time ago. It's the only funeral we've ever had at Mar-a-Lago. I said, maybe we can do a new business here. Yeah. We'll operate as a funeral parlor. But it was one of the most beautiful funerals in the ballroom behind us. And he was a great guy. And Oprah's terrific. But once I announced I was running, and I said, we have to have strong borders, we have to have this, we have to have that, we've sort of lost contact, as the expression goes.